Hello, Tripura Rahasya. Let me open up this other thing over here. To make sure this thing is running here. Is it there? It is there. Alrighty. And it is moving. Started maybe right on time, huh? I lost my book here a minute ago, but then found another one. So, hello, Roseanne. So we're doing chapter 19, which is the dialogue between the great seer Dattatreya and the sage Parashurama on the various states of the realized ones. Where was it? On the floor over there?
Is that the right one?
No, that's a different one too. Now I got two different ones, but they're High Raj, presumably High Ma. And so, anyway. So now I'm growing them, but not the one that I had that's been sitting here for a month. So just to make sure if anybody joins us that has not been following what we're doing, here's a couple sentences from the introduction of the translation we're looking at. These are sentences by Swami Rama that point out, a great yogi does not belong to any caste, creed, sex, or ethnic group because he has already transcended all such superficial limitations, which is what we're all, part of one of the ways of saying what we're all trying to do. The knowledge that enlightens such an aspirant is called Tripura Rahasya. The text by that name is one of the most significant scriptures in the tradition of Tantra Yoga. Alrighty, and here we go, the dialogue between the great seer Dattatreya and the sage Parashurama on the various states of the realized ones. And of course the whole text is based on conversation between the teacher Dattatreya and his student Parashurama. And so then Dattatreya is often telling stories of other characters. But here it's directly between Dattatreya and Parashurama. Hearing from the sage Dattatreya, Sri Parashurama started asking questions regarding the liberated ones and their behavior. Lord, kindly explain to me systematically with full details why differences are seen among the liberated ones. It is true that all liberated ones have profound knowledge of the self equally, and because of that knowledge, the goal of all is liberation. How can there be, one moment here, that thing is not right. How can there be any difference? How can there be any difference if the faculty of discrimination differs? Are there different ways of realizing the self? Please tell me everything. Very demanding student. The compassionate Dattatreya then started explaining thoroughly. Listen, Parashurama, I am revealing the highest secret to you. The means for attaining knowledge are not different nor multifarious. One reaps the fruits according to the way he does sadhana. The end of sadhana is the attainment of knowledge. When sadhana is not completed, more effort is needed. Consciousness is knowledge and is self-illumined. For that self-existent illumination, no sadhana is necessary. The self-illumined Atman is preserved within, hello Gurvinder, The self-illumined Atman is preserved within and is crystal clear by nature. What sadhana is needed for that which is self-illumined and self-existent? It is preserved within chitta, like a brilliant gem that is veiled by a deep layer of dirt and hence remains unseen. Isn't that a nice way of saying it? It's preserved within chitta. One can see it with a one-pointed mind. Then alone can one realize its full brilliance. Hi, B. Sadhana dispels all the desires which create barriers. In some, it is noticed that desires have diminished, and it is noticed that buddhi, the faculty of discrimination, excuse me, is sharpened. There are many categories of intellect, O Parashurama. The degree of effort the sadhaka needs to make is according to the degree of ignorance which has veiled consciousness. Hi, Johnny. There are three main injurious, impure desires: aparada vasana, karma vasana, and kama vasana. Not having faith in the Vedas and scriptures is called aparada vasana, and to have doubt in the existence of the self is also called aparada vasana. Often those who are skilled in different arts and have the opportunity to be in the company of a sage and to study the scriptures still do not attain that knowledge beyond. They believe that no such thing as higher knowledge exists, and even if it does exist, nobody can attain it. If one has known it, he starts doubting it. So how can doubtful knowledge become the means for liberation? In this way, self-conflicting doubts create delusion. This first kind of vasana is called self-created illusion. Suffering from such ignorance, hundreds of thousands of people are caught in this whirlpool. Impurity of intellect caused by previous samskaras is called karma vasana. It creates barriers in understanding the teachings imparted by the Master. These strong barriers cannot be removed by merely controlling the mind and its modifications. The third one, impure desire or kama vasana, is even more injurious, and it is karta vyashesha, the false sense that this is my duty. This has many ramifications. This is my duty. The desire to fulfill one's duty is called kama vasana. O Parashurama, someone might count the waves of the ocean, others count the atoms of the universe, and yet others count the stars. But it is impossible to count the countless desires of the human being. This third category of impurity is the desire to enjoy. Not the desire to enjoy this or that, but the desire to enjoy itself. That's what's referred to in the word kama. O Parashurama, this desire is filled with experience. It is vaster than the sky and as immovable as the mountains. Pretty strong. Because of this selfish desire, the whole world seems to be crazy. The whole world goes through pain as if it has been burned by fire. Those fortunate ones who have attained perfect vairagya, non-attachment, are liberated while living in the world. They remain calm and tranquil. The mind is afflicted by these three kinds of desires. That is why supreme consciousness does not shine forth. The purpose of sadhana is to destroy all pleasure-seeking desires, all of them. The first category of desire is caused by lack of firm faith. Freedom from the bondage of karma can be obtained by the grace of God. It is attained in many lifetimes and not through the thousands of means one applies. Kamavasana, the desire for self-indulgence, can be removed with the help of non-attachment. Non-attachment grows when one becomes indifferent to the objects of enjoyment. There is no other way. O Parashurama, these self-inflicted desires have a dual nature, momentary and lasting. According to their strength, efforts are made to gain release. The root cause of various methods of sadhana is the desire for liberation. Without sincere desire for liberation, no matter how much a person listens to a teacher or contemplates, he cannot attain the knowledge of self-existent reality. Sermons and accomplishments are mere skills. Mastery in any skill does not lead to the highest goal. Without burning desire for liberation, study and contemplation are useless, like dressing a corpse. Boy, isn't that graphic. Without burning desire for liberation, study and contemplation are useless, like dressing a corpse. O Parashurama, if the desire for liberation is weak, then that desire is in vain, just as by hearing the name of the fruit is not obtained. Mango, mango, mango. I don't have any mango. What to do? After receiving the fruits of an action, the desire for the fruit vanishes. Who is that human being who does not have the desire to receive the fruits of his action? Momentary desire for liberation, which for some reason arises all of a sudden, does not yield fruits. Intense and continuous one-pointed desire for liberation will be fruitful. That intense desire for liberation inspires one on the path of sadhana. That is called a burning desire. When all limbs of a man's body are burning with a skin disease, that man desires relief. Similarly, when there is no other desire except the desire for liberation, then that yields the fruits of moksha. A desire other than for moksha is common. With the help of pure non-attachment, the desire for liberation strengthens. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Jiao. When one becomes indifferent to the objects of enjoyment, the desire for liberation increases. Through non-attachment comes desire for liberation, and thus one is inspired to do intense practice. From this comes increased absorption into intensive practice. The more a person is absorbed in practice, the sooner he attains the result. Hearing the words of Dattatreya, Parashurama, with the desire of clarifying his confusion, asked, O Master, first you said that satsang, the company of sages, is the main means of liberation. Then you said it is the grace of God. And again you say, by seeing the imperfections in the objects of the world, one strengthens non-attachment. Which is the prime means of attaining moksha, and how can that means be attained? It is definite that nothing happens without a reason. Therefore, how can intense desire, the means of liberation, be causeless? Please kindly explain in detail. In detail. Compassionate Dattatreya spoke. O Parashurama, listen to the foremost path leading to the final goal. Here it comes. Pure consciousness, through her power of will, projected the image of the universe within herself, like the images in a mirror. That power assumed the form, that power that it spoke of there, then assumed the form of Hiranyagarbha, the firstborn, which has been elsewhere called the golden womb, a term I quite like, with the desire to dispel the darkness of ignorance from human beings, and created scriptures like an ocean of knowledge. Notice that even in that paragraph there's already a few stages of manifestation. Pure consciousness, through her power of will, projected the image of the universe within herself like the images in a mirror. That power then assumed the form of Hiranyagarbha, the firstborn, with the desire to dispel the darkness of ignorance from human beings, and then created scriptures like an ocean of knowledge. In the world, individuals have many types of desires. With the thought of benefiting them, Hiranyagarbha created wish-yielding objects of the world. Human beings by nature perform good and evil karmas. To accomplish a particular purpose in life, they are born as human beings, and then they become the slaves of their own karmas as they continue performing karmas. No obstacle arises in fulfilling my desire. With such an exclusive desire, one surrenders himself to God. He studies the scriptures to understand God. Listening to the results of the sadhana and motivated by its fruits, he begins to practice. But in the midst of practicing, he commits a mistake and does not obtain the desired fruit. Then, after the mistake, then he seeks the company of an adept. Benefited by the company of the wise and listening to them regarding the highest reality, by the grace of the great Lord he starts treading the path with full vigor. In the company of the sages, his good past deeds help him in climbing the ladder of sadhana systematically. Hi, Leela. So it comes in stages. We get stuck and some more help comes, and we get some more and we keep going. Short version of what that said. In this way, satsang, company of the saints, is the prime cause for attaining the highest good. However, sometimes with the fruition of great virtuous deeds or rigorous austerities, the highest good is attained suddenly, like a fruit bestowed from the sky. The state of attainment of the sadhakas varies. One whose mind is free from the impurities of the desire for enjoyment attains knowledge with little effort. One whose mind has no tinge of selfish desire attains knowledge in a short time. One whose mind is enveloped by desires attains only a glimpse of knowledge, but it's better than nothing, isn't it? Such a seeker makes efforts for a long time to attain pure knowledge. That is the reason the seekers differ in their behavior. They're just coming from different levels of operation. O Parashurama, these differences indicate differing degrees of ignorance, avidya. That is why the seekers appear different. O Parashurama, observe the different states of the seekers. Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadev, these three are self-enlightened by nature, but they are different according to their nature and qualities. We cannot say that they are not fully enlightened, but their nature and qualities are different. As a fair complexion Jani does not become dark, similarly, the nature of the mind does not change, the nature of a particular mind. O Parashurama, look at me and my brothers. This is Dattatreya speaking. We are three illumined sons of Atri, but Durvasa, Chandrama, and myself have vast differences in our states of mind. Durvasa is easily agitated. Chandrama is an enjoyer of objects, and I have renounced all identification. Look at Vashishta, who continually performs ceremonies, while Sanaka and others are renunciates. Very important point talked about here. Narada is absorbed in devotion. The son of Bhrigu, Sukracharya, supports demons and composes poetry, while Brahaspati grants favors to the gods. Vyasa is highly skilled and remains absorbed in writing scriptures. Vyasa is the author of the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, the main author of commentary on the Yoga Sutras, and I've forgotten what else, quite a few things. See Janaka, King Janaka. He lives as a king while Bharata renounced his kingdom. O Parashurama, similarly, you can see many other yogis with different characteristics. I will tell you the reason behind it. Listen to me, says Dattatreya. I have explained the three types of impurities of the mind. Among them, the second one, karmic impurity, is the worst. Those whose minds are not tainted with this impurity are medivans, quick to grasp and able to retain. The environment of their present life does not bind them. For them, neither the practice of meditation nor non-attachment is necessary, nor does samadhi become a prerequisite for liberation. By being free from all desires, no doubt they attain the highest state of knowledge, and they become examples like King Janaka, who was a liberated being and was one of the characters in previous chapters in the stories that Dattatreya told Parashurama. Their faculty of discrimination is very one-pointed and pure. Therefore, they do not need to control their desires. Even knowing the absolute, impressions of old samskaras continue to exist. Such a pure mind does not identify itself with ignorance. Learned people call them liberated and great men. O Parashurama, hello Hashim. O Parashurama, one whose mind becomes dense as a result of attaining the fruits of his actions will not attain knowledge, even if Shankara becomes his teacher. Similarly, the practitioner whose mind is not free of skepticism does not attain knowledge. Those who are less skeptical and have minimum desires attain knowledge only after studying, contemplating, meditating, and making efforts for a long time. And if that's the boat that we happen to be in, let us follow that path and do what's in front of us. In certain cases, the seekers are not firmly established in their practices. Therefore, in them, a few desires still exist because their minds are not completely purified. They are called even-minded, and their state of mind is comparatively lower than that of the higher sadhakas. They are only practitioners, but the first and second categories of adepts are liberated. All the knowers of truth have to reap the fruits of their actions. Therefore they remain under the influence of their past karmas and are free and liberated only after death. But let's not count on death to do the sadhana for us. However, the higher order of sadhakas with their purified minds have overcome such karmas. These adepts have no desires, so the karmas do not sprout. Just as a highly skilled person can effectively perform several actions simultaneously without making a mistake, there are some jnanis who can do many things at the same time effortlessly. A human being walks, speaks, and works with his hands at the same time. How can he do 3 different things having only one mind? A teacher can easily detect those students who mispronounce during recitations, even though the class is large. O Parashurama, you killed the great warrior king Sahasrarjuna, who was highly skilled and used many weapons at once, yet his weapons never missed their target. You have seen it. The minds of these accomplished ones perform many actions simultaneously. Similarly, the inner being of the highest order of adepts remains undisturbed while the adepts are working in the world. They are a special category of people. The moment karma sprouts in their minds, it is burned by the fire of knowledge. Old samskaras are like the sprouts of the seed of desire. Om Shanti, 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 says Johnny, yes. Old samskaras are like the sprouts of the seed of desire. This is the cause of pain and pleasure. But when the sprout is burned, how can it yield fruits? When old people play with children and the toy breaks, they express the same grief and sorrow as the children do. Similarly, adepts express pain and pleasure in the midst of their actions. As a person whose mind is concentrated somewhere else experiences his grief or pleasure superficially, but never from within, likewise, while acting in the world, the internal being of an adept remains undisturbed in all conditions. We may not be perfect at that, but we all gain glimpses of that, don't we? Being in crazy situations and still somehow being aware of an inner aspect that is undisturbed. Hi, Joe. As a person whose mind is concentrated somewhere else experiences his grief or pleasure superficially, but never from within, likewise, while acting in the world, the internal being of an adept remains undisturbed in all conditions. These highest adepts neither have to work toward replacing their negative desires with positive ones, nor have to restrain any sort of mental modifications. Among this higher category of adepts, some are seen occupied with work, and some enjoy the objects of the world, and others losing their temper, and so on. As we have discussed, the lower category of seeker already has a firm conviction about what is true and what is untrue. But while realizing the self or attaining samadhi, he remains unaffected by the subtle impressions of his past karmas. However, in other states, he can be affected by the impulses of joy or grief. Actually, realizing the self is called samadhi. There is nothing beyond that. one absolute self-existent Atman is the very foundation of all activities. If it doesn't exist, nothing will happen. From different internal states of knowledge arises Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the highest state of Samadhi. From the viewpoint of realized adepts, consciousness is entirely different from the external world, even while they seem to be active in the world. Those who have understood the unreality of the blueness of the sky still see the sky as blue, although they are fully aware of the unreality of the color. It's a nice way of saying it, huh? Likewise, though they are pragmatic in daily life, adepts are fully aware that reality is like the void. Had it not been like that, there would be no difference between the seer and the seen. After knowing the unreality of external objects, an adept is not influenced by them even while experiencing them. That is why for the highest of adepts, pure consciousness is not an object. The adepts who are constantly aware of Atman remain in a state of no mind. For them, the experience of the external world has ceased. When the mind is centered in the self, it is called the state of Unmani, the transcendental mind. And when it becomes associated with external objects, considering them to be real, that is called an unsteady mind. The highest adepts are like the citizens of two states, O Parashurama. Such an adept lives in the world, yet simultaneously remains above. This is like the lotus flower, the symbol of yoga. Thus, in the view of adepts, consciousness is always like the void. Now I have answered all your questions, says Dattatreya to Parashurama. I bet he's going to keep asking questions. So, thus ends chapter 19 with the explanation of the various states of the realized sages. And next comes the chapter on the appearance of Sri Tripura Sundari and her teaching. Getting pretty high now. Getting pretty high. It's near the end of the journey. But he's still not done. Parashurama still wants to know a little bit more. Notice the persistence of this guy. We can learn from that. We can have an insight sometimes. Haven't you noticed that sometimes you have an insight and you feel like, finally, I understand this stuff. Maybe I'm there. And then all of a sudden you realize, no, I think I better keep going. There's a little bit more. I don't know what it is, but I want to know it. So Raj says, but, oh Master, please tell me in full detail. So be patient, Raj. More is to come. The appearance of Sri Tripura Sundari and her teaching. Mother is about to come. Next chapter. To be continued. Okay? To be continued. Nice way to hang out on a Saturday night, isn't it? A little bit of the wisdom of the sage Dattatreya. Pretty cool dude, isn't he? Telling us all about the secret of Tripura, the Tripura Rahasya. Huh? Pretty nice stuff, I think. So what more would you like to know, Arjuna? Yes, nice. It is to be continued, to be continued. And so let's see, it's Saturday night. Next Saturday night I will be in Pittsburgh, and we'll talk to Matri, and maybe she'll do the next chapter with you, or see how she wants to do this schedule, because as you know, I've been doing these along, so that's not just next Saturday night. So we'll do another one on Monday, and then we have Friday and Saturday that I will not be here. So maybe she'll hit the crescendo. I'll miss the end. Oh no, whatever will I do? Thank you all for playing. Have a wonderful meditation. Remember that what we're looking for is to be found where? In the silence that is after the Om. And that can be called existence or Sat, which is therefore Om Tat Sat. Or it can be called Shiva. Om Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya. Nothing in Om is mine, nothing is mine, and what is left is Shiva, which is essentially the same as Sat. Om Tat Sat. Paramatman. Shiva. Shakti, this one was Shiva. Thank you for visiting. Hope this is fun. Bye-bye. See you, let's see, tonight's Saturday night. See you tomorrow. And tomorrow we will do Sunday Satsang in Matri. She's in Savannah. We will do it with the split screen thing so you get to see both of our smiling faces, and we'll have some conversation. I have a topic that I'll let you know what it is. Okay. Nice to see you, Leslie. Good night. Good night, all. Wonderful, wonderful, quiet, still meditations, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.